The Sea Peoples were a confederation of naval raiders whose incursions into ancient Mediterranean coastal cities around 1200 BCE have captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries. Despite extensive research, their precise origin remains shrouded in mystery. Various theories suggest that they might have hailed from the Aegean region, where the Mycenaean civilization was experiencing turmoil, or from Anatolia, which was also undergoing significant disruptions during this period. Some scholars even propose more distant origins, speculating that these groups could have migrated from far-off lands in search of new territories. The primary sources of information about the Sea Peoples come from Egyptian records, especially the inscriptions and reliefs of Pharaoh Ramses III. These detailed accounts describe fierce battles and the ultimate repulsion of these invaders, portraying them as a significant threat to the stability of the ancient world. The Sea Peoples are often depicted in Egyptian art with distinctive headgear and weapons, suggesting a well-organized and formidable force. Their repeated assaults on Mediterranean civilizations played a crucial role in the widespread upheavals that marked the end of the Late Bronze Age. The Bronze Age world before the collapse. The Late Bronze Age Mediterranean was a period characterized by the dominance of several powerful and sophisticated civilizations, including the Egyptians, Hittites, Mycenaeans, and Minoans. This era, roughly spanning from 1500 to 1200 BCE, was marked by remarkable advancements in art, architecture, and technology. These civilizations were intricately linked through an extensive network of trade routes that facilitated the exchange of goods such as gold, silver, ivory, and precious stones. Diplomatic marriages between royal families were commonplace, serving to strengthen alliances and promote peace. Cultural exchanges flourished, leading to the diffusion of ideas and artistic styles across the region. The palatial centers of Mycenae and Knossos, the sprawling city of Hattusa, and the grandeur of Thebes and Memphis in Egypt are testaments to the prosperity and complexity of this period. The interconnectedness of these societies fostered an era of relative stability and mutual prosperity, which makes the subsequent collapse all the more striking and significant. The sudden onset of the collapse. The Bronze Age collapse, occurring between 1200 to 1150 BCE, represents one of the most dramatic and enigmatic events in ancient history. This period saw the abrupt and violent downfall of several major civilizations, resulting in a dark age that lasted for centuries. Archaeological evidence points to widespread destruction across the Mediterranean region, with numerous cities such as Ugarit, Mycenae, and Hattusa exhibiting layers of ash and debris that indicate they were burned to the ground. These signs of sudden devastation suggest that the collapse was not a gradual decline, but a series of catastrophic events. Various factors, including invasions by the Sea Peoples, internal rebellions, and natural disasters such as earthquakes and droughts, likely contributed to this widespread turmoil. The collapse led to the disintegration of established trade networks, the loss of literacy and cultural knowledge, and a significant reduction in population. The once thriving palaces and urban centers were abandoned, and the sophisticated bureaucratic systems that had sustained these civilizations fell into disarray. This sudden and pervasive disruption marks the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of a period of instability and regression in the ancient Mediterranean world. The raids and attacks by the Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples executed a series of highly coordinated and destructive raids across the Mediterranean, targeting key regions that were integral to the Bronze Age civilizations. Egyptian records, particularly those from the reign of Ramses III, provide detailed accounts of these invasions. One of the most notable confrontations occurred around 1175 BCE at the Battle of the Delta, where Ramses III successfully defended Egypt against a formidable Sea Peoples offensive. This battle was critical in safeguarding Egypt from the fate that befell many other contemporary civilizations. The Sea People's tactics involved both naval and land assaults, which overwhelmed the defenses of many coastal cities. Their invasions were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern of aggression that contributed significantly to the turmoil of the period. The precise coordination and scale of their attacks suggest a well-organized and powerful coalition capable of challenging some of the most established powers of the ancient world. The impact on major civilizations. The onslaught of the Sea Peoples had devastating repercussions for several major Bronze Age civilizations. The Hittite Empire, a dominant power in Anatolia, was completely obliterated, its cities razed, and its societal structures dismantled. Similarly, Mycenaean Greece suffered extensive destruction, with many of its palatial centers abandoned and left in ruins. The archaeological record shows that once thriving cities were deserted, and the sophisticated Mycenaean culture experienced a dramatic decline. In the Levant, the downfall of numerous city-states further exemplifies the widespread chaos instigated by the Sea People's incursions. The disruption of trade routes, which had been the lifeline of economic prosperity and cultural exchange, resulted in a severe economic downturn. The collapse of these trade networks led to shortages of essential goods and a breakdown in the intricate web of interactions that had previously sustained the Bronze Age world. The impact was not merely physical, but also socio-economic, plunging these regions into a dark age that lasted for several centuries. Theories on the origin of the Sea Peoples. Scholars have proposed multiple theories regarding the origins of the Sea Peoples, reflecting the complexity and uncertainty surrounding this enigmatic group. Some suggest that they were displaced populations from the Aegean region, possibly Mycenaean Greeks fleeing from internal conflicts or natural disasters, such as earthquakes that ravaged their homeland. Others point to Anatolia, where similar upheavals might have forced communities to migrate in search of more stable territories. There is also the theory that the Sea Peoples were a coalition of disparate groups, each with its own motivations, but united by the common goal of seeking new lands and resources. Environmental catastrophes, such as prolonged droughts or famines, could have exacerbated these movements, compelling entire communities to embark on perilous migrations. This theory is supported by evidence of climatic changes during this period, which would have disrupted agricultural production and led to food shortages, making the prospect of invasion and relocation increasingly appealing. The role of environmental factors. Environmental factors are believed to have played a significant role in the series of events leading to the Bronze Age collapse. Climate change, particularly in the form of prolonged droughts, would have severely affected agricultural productivity across the Mediterranean region. This in turn could have led to widespread food shortages, contributing to social unrest and weakening the established political structures. The resulting scarcity of resources may have driven migrations and invasions as displaced populations sought new territories to sustain themselves. Archaeological evidence indicates that many regions experienced severe climatic shifts during this period, corroborating the theory that environmental stress was a crucial factor in the collapse. Additionally, natural disasters such as earthquakes could have compounded these difficulties, further destabilizing societies already struggling to cope with adverse conditions. The convergence of these environmental stresses likely created a scenario where traditional coping mechanisms failed, leading to the collapse of complex societies and facilitating the incursions of groups like the Sea Peoples. The consequences of the collapse. The collapse of the sophisticated Bronze Age civilizations resulted in a protracted Dark Age across the Mediterranean. This period, characterized by a marked decline in literacy, saw the disappearance of complex writing systems and a significant loss of literary and administrative records. The disintegration of established trade networks meant that long-distance commerce, which had been the backbone of economic prosperity, came to a halt. Consequently, there was a substantial regression in technological advancements and cultural achievements. Urban centers, which had been hubs of administrative and cultural activities, were abandoned or significantly reduced in size and influence. This era of stagnation persisted for several centuries, during which the remnants of the once great civilizations struggled to adapt to a world that had become more insular and fragmented. It was not until the emergence of new civilizations, such as the Greeks, who reintroduced literacy with the development of the alphabet, and the Phoenicians, renowned for their maritime prowess and trade, that the region began to recover and re-establish itself as a center of cultural and economic activity. Archaeological evidence. Archaeological excavations across the Mediterranean region have provided compelling evidence of widespread destruction around 1200 BCE. Prominent sites such as Troy, Mycenae, and Ugarit show distinct layers of ash and debris, pointing to their violent demise. These layers correspond to the time frame of the Bronze Age collapse, supporting historical accounts of widespread turmoil. The remnants of fortifications and an increased presence of weapons among the artifacts unearthed at these sites suggest that societies were responding to heightened threats and instability. The abrupt cessation of construction and the apparent abandonment of once thriving urban centers further indicate a period of intense crisis. These archaeological findings, corroborated by the scarcity of contemporary written records, paint a picture of a world in upheaval, where previously dominant powers were unable to withstand the multifaceted pressures leading to their downfall. The tangible evidence of destruction and militarization underscores the severity and suddenness of the collapse that transformed the Mediterranean landscape. The legacy of the Sea Peoples. The legacy of the Sea Peoples remains a complex and multifaceted topic within historical and archaeological research. While they are often credited with precipitating the collapse of the Bronze Age civilizations, their influence extended beyond mere destruction. The chaos and displacement they caused disrupted existing political and social structures, paving the way for significant cultural and political transformations. This period of upheaval forced surviving communities to adapt, leading to innovations in governance, military organization, and economic practices. The Sea Peoples, through their incursions, indirectly facilitated the transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age, a time marked by the emergence of new technologies and the rise of powerful new states. The socio-political vacuum left in the wake of their invasions allowed for the ascent of the Greeks and Phoenicians, who would go on to establish influential cultures that shaped the course of Western history. Thus, the legacy of the Sea Peoples is not solely one of destruction, but also one of profound change, as their actions set the stage for the development of a new era in the ancient Mediterranean world.